Well, I reckon. Thank you for that early sponsor, Diadems. I'll make sure that that goes in your box. Um, let's delve into magic items until the next box of minis needs pulled. Last night, you may remember, we ended up going through the entire process. If we were to make an ultimate, a legendary artifact tier magic item, and we did so. In fact, we didn't even know that we were going to use a bag of devouring at first, or it would be a legendary artifact. We just went into its backstory because all that you can find here in the DMG, all this can apply to a common, uncommon magic item, let alone rare, very rare, etc. But we continued following the process of going through the tables, and we continued to add traits. We did make it sentient. We did give it, a certain personality. And by the time we got with choose something, it was offered that this was a bag of devouring, and it makes sense, right? So we're building not just the story, but the item as it goes along. And in addition to its normal benefits, it can perceive around itself. We gave it minor beneficial and minor and major beneficial properties, minor and major detrimental properties as well. And so here we have this ultimate item, Monmonmo, the legendary artifact bag of devouring. Its most popular quote, as Macabre Derek put it, offered, "Put me on its face." Now we're not going to start in as legendary estate, because a lot of what we can explore with this concept are going to be magic items that are more common. Magic items that perhaps in your own tabletop society are going to be present. Maybe much like we saw in the Eberron guide, there are those cleansing stones, right? Cleansing stone. It's a stone sphere 1 foot in diameter engraved with mystic sigils. When touching the stone, you can use an action to activate it and remove dirt and grime from your garments and your person. Cleansing stones are often embedded into pedestals in public squares, in Eondair, or found in high-end Galanda inns. Well, in Eberron is a very magical society, and so you're going to find this, and this is now a part of the way of life. We were also taking a look here in the DMG at some other magic items in this chapter. It eventually went into, it eventually went into legendary status and such. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say there. But we can go through and craft our own magic items. And while the Eberron guide was giving us a lot of very interesting common items, I also mentioned that Xanathar's Guide to Everything has a lot of entries there as well. And so, before we start making some of our own tier of common items, why don't we take a look at what are some of the officially printed common magic items, so we get an idea for the theme of, the theme of what a common item is, what they would do, or how they would function. All right, common magic items. The DMG includes many magic items of every rarity. The one exception are common items. That book includes few of them. This section introduces more of them to the game. These items seldom increase a character's power, but they're likely to amuse players and provide fun role-playing opportunities. The magic items are presented in alphabetical order. So is Xanathar a 5th edition only? Xanathar in terms of this guide? Xanathar as a character, I think, has been in the lore for quite some time. But as far as a book entitled Xanathar's Guide to Everything, I believe this is the first time it was something like this has been printed. Though there have been similar magic item compendiums that have been printed in prior edition. In fact, I believe in 4th edition, the magic item compendium was a Mordenkainen or a Mordenkainen title. Lore-wise, no, I believe Xanathar has been around for a lot longer. Yeah. Armor of Gleaming. Any medium or heavy armor, this is a common item. This armor never gets dirty. There we go. So we have a continual effect of one portion of a cantrip that you can imbue into armor. Bead of Nourishment. This spongy, flavorless, gelatinous bead dissolves on your tongue and provides as much nourishment as 1 day of rations. And so here we have kind of like a good berry. It doesn't provide the 1 hit point, but, you know, if you're in a pinch and you need to survive, here are Beads of Nourishment. Now, what the difference here is... Oh, pardon me. Common items can cost maybe 5 gold pieces, 10 gold pieces. You know, depending on the cost. Yeah, you have a Bead of Nourishment, but you may have paid 10 days of normal skilled labor, right? If that's 1 gold piece a day, you have paid over a week for 1 flavorless spongy tablet. Now, is your life worth 10 gold? It could very well. Or heck, even a flavorless spongy bead that costs 1 gold. That's your entire day's earning just for a little bit of nutrition to get you through to the next day. Bread of Refreshment, or Bead of Refreshment. The spongy, flavorless, gelatinous bead dissolves in liquid, transforming up to a pint of the liquid into fresh, cold drinking water. The bead has no effect on magical liquids or harmful substances such as poisons. Boots of False Tracks. Only humanoids, and remember that there's this distinction in the last episode that we went over. Only humanoids can wear these boots. While wearing the boots, you can choose to have them leave tracks like those of another kind of humanoid of your size. So it's not going to make you non-detectable, but if you are a halfling, you can wear these boots of false tracks and leave a line of evidence as if you were a big heavy half-orc or something to try and throw people off your trail, though you're still leaving a trail. Candle of the Deep. The flame on this candle is not extinguished when immersed in water. It gives off light and heat like a normal candle. Yeah, I agree, lethality. Faerun was the... Well, in 3rd edition, I almost want to say it was Greyhawk, due to the deities and some other references that were standard in the player's handbook. They made a Forgotten Realms player's guide, like a guide to the setting. And then there are some supplements to that, and I remember they printed it different. It was kind of like a whitish purple cover that looked like maybe like some leather binding to it instead of the big fancy heavy books. So I want to say 3rd edition was a Greyhawk setting, but Faerun really came into being filled. Then Faerun was chosen in 4th edition, and Faerun seems to continue to be a default home in 5th edition, although in 5th edition they do mention Kryn for Dragonlance. They do mention Oerth, for Greyhawk. And there's all sorts of references to other places too. So, 4th was definitely heavily Faerun. 5th is just a default setting with the possible inclusion of other places. I remember much more Greyhawk in 3.5. Forgotten Realms was building popularity towards the end. Yes. I would agree with that, Civil. Cast off armor. You can doff this armor as an action. Oh, pardon me. Now, why can't you don armor as a common property? Mechanically speaking, putting on armor makes you more of a threat, right? You're harder to kill, or it'll extend your hit points longer because you have this. Taking armor off, arguably, reduces your effectiveness. And so it would be a more common item to be able to depower yourself in some fashion than it would be to instantly summon armor onto you. Yep. Lethality, it does take a good tour. This one could be very interesting. Whenever you roll the 6-sided die, you can control which number it rolls. And you'll notice, look, cast off armor doesn't require attunement, nor do any of these other ones. However, now we get to the point where we question, and remember, this is something we have to keep in mind when we're building magic items. Why would this require attunement? Well, you can control the number which it rolls. Right? There's an intrinsic link to your will. That's more than just press a magic button and your armor falls off. Because this can be used or abused a little bit more easily, it is competing for one of the 3 attunement slots you have on your body. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to take this magical die? After Ravnica's book come out, I hope they drop some Dark Sun content and further delve into psionics. We shall see. Cloak of Bellowing. While wearing this cloak, you can use a bonus action to make it billow dramatically. Hey, Neo Realms, welcome. Good to see ya. The Cloak of Many Fashions resembles what we saw in the Eberron guide. Let's see if I can find another... Aha, here we go. Here's an even more specific... Hey, Daily, welcome. Here's an even more specific setup for a common magic item. Not only does this one require attunement, but it must be done by a warlock specifically. The Dark Shard Amulet. This amulet is fashioned from a single shard of resilient extraplanar material originating from the realm of your warlock patron. While you are wearing it, you gain the following benefits. You can use the amulet as a spellcasting focus for your warlock spells, and you can try to cast a cantrip that you don't know. The cantrip must be on the Warlock spell list, and you must make a DC 10 Intelligence Arcana check. If the check succeeds, you cast the spell. If the check fails, so does the spell, and the action used to cast the spell is wasted. In either case, you can't use this property again until you finish a long rest. So this is common because there is a chance of failure, and it simulates the casting one cantrip level spell once per day. Like a Hat of Wizardry. Okay. Yep. Requires attunement by a wizard. You can use it as a spell casting focus, and you can cast a cantrip you don't know. Exactly. The Erstas Eye. This artificial eye replaces a real one that was lost or removed. While the Ersatz Eye is embedded in your eye socket, it can't be removed by anyone other than you, and you can see through the tiny orb as if it were a normal eye. And so there we go. It is a magical item that simply grants normal vision. But now you have both eyes back, so maybe you don't take disadvantage on perception checks. It requires attunement because it's more of a bond to your character. And that is the unspoken or implied condition on why we should make a magical item require attunement. Or particularly, as we're looking at the Warlock or the Wizard examples, why some magic items are exclusive to a race, a class, maybe even some kind of an archetype. Maybe you come up with something that, arcane tricksters can use. It's like you make a common magic item for a mage hand, with a mage hand to wear, and arcane tricksters, in particular, use those very well. So anyway, all kinds of stuff here. It's a 10-foot pole you can turn into a fishing rod. While holding this orb, you can use an action to determine whether it is morning, afternoon, evening, or nighttime outside. It's a watch. It's just a magical orb watch that, hey, if you're in the Underdark or you're somehow excluded from looking outside or knowing the time, it can come in handy. Here's a cool one. A Staff of Adornment. If you place an object weighing no more than 1 pound, such as a shard of crystal, an egg, or a stone, above the tip of the staff while holding it, the object floats an inch from the staff's tip and remains there until it is removed or until the staff is no longer in your possession. The staff can have up to 3 such objects floating over its tip at a given time. While holding the staff, you can make one or more of the objects slowly spin or turn in place. And so here, bada boom. A nice compressed table at the end that we can use to reference. The Special Features section in Chapter 7 of the Dungeon Master's Guide is useful if you want to design other common magic items. For example, what if the minor what minor property does it have? A table might inspire you to create a magic item that allows a character to speak and understand the goblin language, based on the table's language property. The magic item that glows in the presence of fiends, based off the sentinel property, or a magic item that projects its user's voice over a great distance, based on the war leader property. And we were doing that last night, and we can revisit Chapter 7 in here again. So let's use this as a guide, right? And let's spring into it. Here we go. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'll go 9 and 10 to kind of weight the wondrous items here. Let's create a quasi-random common item first to warm up, and then if you all out there have some suggestions for a common item, let's pursue it. Let's build it together. Let's roll a d10. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and okay, it's a staff. I imagine one of the items I posted might be common, but uncommon could make sense too. Alright, I'll take a look at it here in just a second, Civil Hermit. Okay. So we're making a staff. Its intended use, we're not going to worry about the creator in this case. Let's only focus on a couple aspects of magic item creation. Its intended use, we're going to roll a d20. We also rolled a 6. Dragon. So once more, this item is made from scales and talons. Oh wait, that was its created, so its use. So actually, its intended use, we're just gonna put something about dragons. Its history, because we're just using these as prompts, is 7. Another sinister. Oh my gosh, we're making a mini Mon Monmo. Hey, Roger. It's the staff from the D&D movie. Right? Alright, so this is also linked to something or someone infamous. A minor property. We're going to roll a d20, and really this is going to be what our common centric item will be revolving around. Pardon me. 4. A delver. While underground, the bearer of this item always knows the item's depth below the surface and the direction to the nearest staircase, ramp, or other path leading upward. And a D12 for a quirk. 7. It is metamorphic. The item periodically and randomly alters its appearance in slight ways. The bearer has no control over these minor alterations, which have no effect on the item's use. A 5-headed staff of Tiamat. That'd be pretty powerful for a common magic item. Unless it was just a carved staff of Tiamat with 5 different painted color heads, and you press a button and it just goes rawr, and it just makes a noise. Which, hey, that could be a common magic item. Right? It's linked to something or someone infamous. So if we go with Roger Twice's suggestion, so we can call this Staff of the Surfacing Dragon. And in fact, here let's get some. All right, so we have Staff of the Surfacing Dragon. It is a staff. Common. And this gets italicized. This wooden staff is Cult of the Dragon just keeps spamming these out. This wooden staff is carved and painted like the 5 heads of Tiamat. Let's see, how else can we... While holding it, you can use an action to it has 10 charges. While holding it, you can use an action to hold it out in front of you and have it roar like a dragon. While holding it underground. You can use an action to hold it out in front of you if you have and have it roar like a dragon. You will then be able to determine the location of the nearest path leading upward from your current, location. As well as how deep underground you are. The heads on the staff seem to shift position and facial features every time you don't look at it. Hey, Darkwolf! Roger Twy, maybe you could activate one head and know the direction of the nearest coin, either copper or silver, or electrum or gold or platinum, based on the head. You can't exclude any of your own coins, so it's not that useful. Possibly. I don't know, finding treasure and such, that's more getting into maybe some other divination spells like augury. And really, we would want to keep this at something like, pardon me. Partial feat, partial racial abilities, such as, in this case, maybe stone cutting-ish, or partial cantrip is the level that we're operating at in common. But here we have... Hey, Shadow Clone, welcome. Now, what you could probably do, Roger, instead, is to almost make something like a metal detector as a common magic item. Right? It won't tell you what type of metal, and it has to pass within, you know, like... a foot with the natural barriers of like lead, wood, stone that that other spells, that resist it. But I could see something like a metal detector style staff being made as a common item. Metal detected. Oh, hi, Paladin. But maybe you can have it centered at the end of the staff, and so it's any metal that's like 1 foot away. And if it's metal, then beep 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 beep, it'll make some sort of a noise. But as you can see, we just randomly created a kind of an interesting staff. It already has a story built into it. Right? We have some roleplay stuff that you can go with this staff. And it has, a, mechanics too. In fact, we have to also put on, the staff regains 1d6 plus 4 expended charges daily at dawn. If you expend the last charge, roll a d20. On a 1, the staff explodes in a harmless cloud of colorful, streaking smoke dragons, and is lost forever. Yep, there you go, Zulerpie. So here we go, Staff of the Surfacing Dragon. Or if we wanted, we can say, Staff of, or something like, here. Staff of Tiamat Rising. That sounds a little bit more menacing, doesn't it? Yes, Golden, it is. Sorry if I lurk. I'm making a character. No problem, Shadow Clone. If you have any questions, or I'm happy. If our workshop can be inspirational, or even some background noise for you, I'm happy. You can lurk. If you come up with, I don't know, an odd situation where you need some extra help on your character that you're making, feel free to ask questions in chat too. We are talking about magic items, but it doesn't mean that we're limited to only speaking about magic items. Other topics can come up, including if you need help with generating your character. Sorry for the stretches and a couple of the yawns. I'm not tired or bored around any of you. It's just been a bit of a long day, and I had a I had Tomb of Annihilation tonight at the store, and we lost our first player, and we only just left Port Nyanzaru. Well, the character had it coming. So it was brought on by the character, not by a vengeful DM. All right, let's make one more like this, and then let's open up Civil. I know you have a document that you uploaded. All right, here we are. All right, what are we going to make? I'm going to drop, you know what? I think I'm going to drop scrolls, because a scroll is just a way to hold a magic spell that already exists. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll go 8, 9, 10 for wondrous items. So I'll roll a d10 again. 7. Okay, so this is going to be a weapon. Some magic weapons specify the type of weapon they are in their descriptions, such as a longsword or longbow. If a magic weapon doesn't specify its weapon type, you may choose the type or determine it randomly. Alright, so here's a common magic item. Its intended use is, on a d20, 17. For a fiend. Oh my gosh, we are sticking with dragons and fiends. A detail from its history. Oh, it's heroic. A great hero once wielded this item. Anyone who's familiar with the item's history expects great deeds from the new owner. Oh, the Woo is knitting. What are you knitting, Dark Wolf? Someone get me a caffeine drip. Well, yeah, right. So this doesn't have any caffeine in it, nor does it have sugar. So it's just some very sweet-tasting snack water. There's those cool protection from abnormal insect-type scrolls, though. This is still common, Roger. We're going to go to uncommon in part 2 of the stream. A minor property is going to be... It's pretty sweet. It's strawberry watermelon. Guardian. The item whispers warnings to its bearer, granting a +2 bonus to initiative if the bearer isn't incapacitated. Okay. And lastly, a quirk. Nine. It is painful. The bearer experiences a harmless flash of pain when using the item. Just a scarf. I've been working on it on and off for a while. It's burgundy. Ooh, very cool, Dark Wolf. Well, hey, we're getting into the season for that. You started at a good time when you didn't need to wear it. And hopefully by the time you finish it, you will. Because, look, I had frost on my car the other morning. Winter is coming, my friends. Okay. We have enough that I think we can produce some sort of a common item. If we look at some other common weapons, because it's very easy, like, oh, +1 to hit, +1 to damage. That starts at uncommon. Let's look at a Moontouch sword. In darkness, the unsheathed blade of this sword sheds moonlight, creating bright light in a 15-foot radius and dim light for an additional 15 feet. So it's not sunlight, therefore it can't break darkness spells or even hurt perhaps some kind of undead or drow. But it does create light, and specifically moonlight. What else did we have? Walloping ammunition. This ammunition packs a wallop. A creature hit by the ammunition must succeed on a DC 10 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. So the reason why that's common, now, common is still going to cost a pretty penny to manufacture. You know, DC 10 strength saving throw, it's pretty low. I mean, it's possible for people to not pass it, even at level 1. Though the odds aren't going to be as likely. I mean, maybe if you hit a wizard with it or something. You know, so being knocked prone isn't the end of the world in combat. It does reduce some movement. And because the DC check is rather low, this is why it's a common item. Moonshine causing harmless pain seems about right. A hangover sword. So let's see. This also, so it grants a bonus to initiative. If the bearer isn't incapacitated. So let's call this a... something that would get attention through pain. Ooh. We can find some inspiration, I bet. Mains. Souls of evil creatures that descend to the lower planes are transformed into mains, the lowest form of demon kind. These wretched fiends attack any non-demon they see, and they are called to the material plane by those seeking to sow death and chaos. Orcus, the Prince of Undeath, has the power to transform mains into undead monsters, most often ghouls and shadows. Other demon lords feed on mains, destroying them utterly. Otherwise, killing a mains causes it to dissipate into a cloud of reeking vapor that reforms into another mains after 1 day. So let's take a look here. Baelor, Balugra, Goristro, Nalfenshi, Quasit. Oh, I'm past where I need to be. Here we go. Here's our mains. Let's see. Anything here? Understands Abyssal but can't speak. Charmed, Frightened, Poisoned. Okay, so these are just little shock troopers of demons. So why don't we call this a weapon? We can call this something like since mains are small, weapon daggers, hand axes, and sickles. This weapon was crafted using the hand of a mains. By a great demon slayer hero. while holding it. And you know what? This is going to have to be attuned. The other one, I don't think it really needed attunement. This one, I do believe we're going to have attunement. This weapon was crafted using the hand of a mains by a great demon slayer hero. While attuned to it, maybe not even necessarily wielding it, but while attuned to it, the weapon grants its bearer a +2 bonus to initiative. If the bearer isn't incapacitated. The alert comes in the form of the small hand forming the pommel, maybe. The alert comes from this in the form of the small hand forming the pommel, giving the bearer a painful but harmless pinch. I guess if you are wearing medium or heavy armor or otherwise cannot be easily pinched by the detached demon claw, you cannot receive the benefit of this weapon. Like that classic James Bond movie song, Main's Finger. Yeah. Alright, so what do you think about this for a common item? Right, so here's our random rolls. It's a main-handed weapon. I'm using it in my main hand. It's a main-handed weapon. Weapons on something small, daggers, hand axes, and sickles, it requires attunement. This weapon was crafted using the hand of a mains, or a main demon, by a great demon slayer hero. While attuned to the weapon, or rather, I guess we should say, this weapon's pattern, because it's a common magic item, was crafted using the hand of a mains by a great demon slayer hero. While attuned to it, the weapon grants its bearer a +2 bonus to initiative if the bearer isn't incapacitated. The alert comes in the form of the small hand forming the pommel, giving the bearer a painful but harmless pinch. If you are wearing medium or heavy armor, or otherwise cannot be easily pinched by the detached demon claw, you cannot receive the benefit of this weapon. There we go. There's roleplay, there's mechanics, and I think that this keeps it. This keeps something on the level of being a common magic item. right? It requires the limb of a rather common demon. I mean, because look, we're already talking magic items, but mains are like a common shock troop, and so yeah, you probably need one to make a main-handed weapon. But it's not like you need a pit fiend claw or anything. Okay, let's do one more. And let's bring up what Civil has to, like what Civil put here. And then we can work on it or throw out other ideas. And for uncommons, because we have the hit, we have the idea of doing it randomly. For the uncommons, maybe we can just explore that more freely amongst ourselves. I mean, if you want to do a random uncommon level, that's fine that's fine too. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one might be a little bit too more for a common. This magic effect can be imbued into any ordinary potted tree container that has a tree in it. The tree can weigh as little as 30 pounds, but continues to grow normally as trees of its type do. Once per day, when it falls over completely or is tipped over completely, the tree emanates a thunderous boom audible out to 300 feet. If every creature has over 5 intelligence and was within 300 feet of the time of the tree's collapse, succeeds on a DC 10 stealth check, an area of magical silence is created within 20 feet of the tree's trunk and no sound can escape. Any creature or object entirely inside the area is immune to thunder damage. And the creatures are deafened while entirely inside it. Casting a spell that includes a verbal component is impossible here. The area of silence. When a tree is picked up again, if it moves from the space that it fell or after 8 hours pass. If the tree dies or is removed, it can only create its effects one additional time within the next week before becoming non-magical. The magic effect cannot be activated without a living tree of at least 30 pounds having been replanted or regrown within it for at least 24 hours. Okay, so there's a lot here, Civil. Oh, if a tree falls in the woods. Got it. This is a dad magic item. Hey, Virtuous Overlord, welcome. Yeah, hey, kids, settle down or I'm knocking the tree over. No problem, Zebracorn. Welcome, welcome. We've already made 2 randomly generated common magic items using the prompts in the DMG and using a power guideline as illustrated by the Xanathar's common magic items. Was inspired by a character I watched played in a Twitch game. The character was a strong elven blacksmith who managed to transport smithing supplies wherever he went. Much to the party's annoyance, he would often smith while everyone was asleep after he finished his trance. The situation made me think what kind of an item would make sense for a reusable silence spell. And the results are what you see. I think it'd be a good quasi-natural tree species that ends up getting used in Silencing magic items. Yeah, kind of like what we're exploring with the Eberron stuff. I can see this. I can see this more like. I have an item in my games called Whisperwood, and it's a type of wood that absorbs sound. And so we might be able to work out something like this. I think this will require attunement. You can make a really quiet guitar. And ninja beavers. So, well, I mentioned before, it's kind of meant to be comedic, and like I wrote the end of another item, it was made to be something that almost makes more problems than it solves. So, yeah, I mean, we'll use what you created as inspiration here. So, for Falling Silence Lumber, instead, and we want to keep it on the common tier, we can say something like, shields made from this wood allow its wielder to use a reaction in order to reduce any thunder damage additionally. Additionally, its bearer let's give it one more thing. Oh, advantage on stealth checks. Oh, I'm sorry, Diadems. I'm gonna get up and take a walk when we finish this, because we'll be in between sessions, and also get some salsa or something, and maybe advantage on stealth checks. Additionally, its bearer advantage on stealth might be really powerful. stealth proficiency. Ah, there we go. That's a lot. Yeah, I like that, Roger. Additionally, armor that normally imposes disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks are not considered to be I guess rolled at disadvantage. Additionally, armor that normally imposes disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks are not considered to be rolled or to rolled at disadvantage, or I guess are not considered to have disadvantage. While the shield is being used. There we go. So it creates a little bit of a buffer. I think that's fair for a common item, because not everyone can use shields. It's Proficient, Wielder. Shields made from this wood allow its Proficient Wielder to use a reaction in order to reduce any thunder damage from occurring by 1d4. If we're going to use the Ravnica DR as an example. Additionally, armor that normally imposes disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks are not considered to have disadvantage while the shield is being used. Yeah. I think it's something common. And also look at it this way. All shields grant a +2 AC. But imagine this. You are carrying around a wooden shield. A wooden shield may be more likely to burn or succumb to various types of damage over the course of a campaign. Or something along those lines. And so you may have a big, clanky fighter or something. But, you're carrying around this small wood shield, but it does give you a good benefit for the drawback of the material or how susceptible it can make you. I think this is a great wondrous item, or I guess in this case maybe we call it armor shield instead. Let's see what they call armor shield. Requires attunement. I guess so. It'd be armor shield, common, and then requires attunement also. If we're sticking with the formatting that that this is being presented in. There we go. And we didn't even need a big backstory. We just created something that sounded neat off of an idea that Civil here. Cool direction to take with the potted tree. Doesn't do anything for that blacksmith waking everyone up at night, but it does offer a much nicer general function. Well, yeah, so, I mean, to use it as it was written, I think would go beyond common Civil. But we still took the idea of a silent tree or a silent wood. You know, think about this. Think about the carpenter or blacksmith having to make this shield. You'd hit it with your hammer, and it probably wouldn't make much, if any, noise. It'd be kind of creepy, actually. So cool. All right, so we've created 3 common magical items. And when we come back, let's take a peek at what uncommon items do. Because now we're getting into stuff like +1 armor and weapons. And there's a couple other things that we can reference, you know, various potions and so forth. Let's give it a look, and we'll create using some random storytelling, or if you have ideas for items that you want to make, we can go completely off of that and just sort of wiggle it in the scale of things. So hang on for about 10 minutes. I'm going to take a break, get up, walk around. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm going to get a snack and a drink, and I hope you all do the same, and we'll make some more magic together. Speaking of making magic, hey, orcs make beautiful lovers. When you come back, I got to tell you a stream idea I had. Yeah. Please do, orcs. I'm open-minded to your all suggestions, because I do want to run entertaining streams for you. Engaging streams, or, you know, stuff that's fun to watch and or especially listen. So about 10 minutes, and bada boom, we'll be back, everyone.